Ever notice how some older couples just kind of like, they just get each other?
Yeah.
It's not always like fireworks and grand gestures,
Right.
but there's this like deep sense of comfort and affection there.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a deep dive today on a piece about, what makes those relationships work?
Yep.
What can we learn about love that lasts?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's easy to sort of romanticize long-term relationships,
For sure.
but the reality is these couples have, they've really seen it all.
Yeah.
The ups, the downs, you name it.
Totally. And it's not just about like growing old together, right? It's about how all of that shared experience, how does that shape their bond? Like the article mentioned weathering storms together.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of impact do those challenges actually have?
Well, think about it like this. Each challenge, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's financial hurdles, family dynamics, even just the everyday sort of ups and downs.
Yeah.
It's like they're building a shared history,
Right.
brick by brick.
Okay.
And that foundation is built on facing life's curveballs together.
Yeah.
And that creates a really, really strong connection.
So it's not just about time. It's about what you go through in that time.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And because of that shared history, there's also just this depth of understanding there
Yeah.
that's really hard to replicate.
Right.
They've seen each other at their best, at their worst. They've supported each other through thick and thin.
Oh, yeah.
They know each other inside and out, flaws and all.
Okay. Wow. So that's got to be huge, right? If you get to that level of understanding with somebody.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're not worried about, putting on a show or pretending to be someone you're not. You can just be yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the article actually highlights that authenticity, right?
Yeah,
like being genuine as a key ingredient in these displays of affection we're talking about.
Okay.
It's genuine because it comes from a place of really deep acceptance and security.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Like it's like their affection has this kind of quiet confidence to it, right? Because
Yeah.
it's rooted in something real. It's
Yeah.
it's not just about these grand gestures and overcoming, major life obstacles.
Right.
The article also touched on like the importance of routine for these couples.
Yeah.
What struck you about that?
It's really interesting, right? Because it's these small everyday rituals,
Yeah.
having your morning coffee together, taking an evening walk, even just, the way they end their day together.
Interesting.
These little things, they actually play a significant role. It's about creating those consistent opportunities to connect, both physically and emotionally.
So it's like they're weaving these little moments of connection into like the fabric of their day-to-day lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like creating this comforting rhythm,
Right.
this sense of stability.
Yeah.
And then within that routine, that's where like those small gestures,
Right.
holding hands on that walk, a hug before bed, like
Yeah.
those become even more powerful.
Because they're not just one-offs.
Right.
They're part of like the very fabric of how they relate to each other.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a love language,
Right.
but it's built into their routine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like their own little language.
Yeah.
Speaking of like unspoken communication, the article mentions something kind of interesting about vulnerability.
Okay.
It seems counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but apparently older couples are often more comfortable with vulnerability,
Interesting.
which, you'd think after all those years,
Right.
you'd think those walls would be like firmly in place. Like what changes?
Well, think about it, right? Like over time, you start to realize everybody has insecurities.
Yeah,
Everybody makes mistakes.
for sure.
And in a relationship where you feel like you're truly seen, where you feel accepted for who you are,
Yeah.
all those defenses we build up when we're younger,
Yeah.
they tend to soften a bit.
Because you don't need to protect yourself as much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They've learned that being vulnerable, it's not a weakness.
Right.
It's actually a strength.
Okay.
It allows for deeper connection, more genuine intimacy.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to show their true selves,
Wow.
warts and all, as they say.
Which then in turn allows for more genuine expressions of affection. Right?
Absolutely.
Because you're not
You're not
just expressing it for like this carefully constructed image of someone.
Yeah,
You're expressing it for who they really are.
exactly.
Like flaws and all.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that level of acceptance,
Yeah.
that is so powerful.
It is.
I mean,
It's safe.
imagine reaching a point in your own relationship where you feel that free
Right.
to be yourself,
Wow.
to express affection without any hesitation, without fear of judgment.
Yeah. That's big.
That's huge.
It really is. Okay, one last point from the article that I thought was really interesting.
Okay.
Um, it seems like romance, at least in like the traditional sense,
Yeah.
might look different in these long-term relationships.
Okay.
Makes you wonder like if we've got it all wrong,
Mm.
thinking about romance as this big flashy thing, when
Yeah.
really maybe it's more about,
Yeah.
finding that quiet understanding, that really deep, like, abiding friendship that
Right.
can just weather any storm.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. The article suggests that for these couples,
Yeah.
romance doesn't actually disappear.
Okay.
It transforms.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So that initial spark, it might mellow a bit over time,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it evolves into this kind of warm, steady glow.
Okay.
They've built a life together.
Right.
And the joy they find in simply being together,
Yeah.
it's really palpable.
Yeah. No, you can just tell, right?
Right, exactly.
It's like they've reached this level of comfort, this level of intimacy that's just, it goes beyond those initial butterflies,
Absolutely.
They're not just lovers, right? They're best friends, they're confidants,
Yeah.
they're partners in every sense of the word.
Exactly. And that camaraderie,
Yeah.
that really, really deep sense of friendship,
Mm-hmm.
that becomes such a powerful foundation
Right.
for genuine affection.
Okay.
It's not about those grand gestures anymore.
Right.
It's not about trying to impress each other.
Right. Right.
It's about, just showing up every day
Yeah. Yeah.
and choosing to be present
Yeah.
in that shared journey.
It's pretty inspiring, actually. It makes you think about, how we can cultivate those same qualities in our own relationships,
Right.
no matter what stage we're at. Maybe it's less about, finding that kind of perfect relationship
Yeah.
and more about building a love that deepens and evolves over time.
I think that's a really, really powerful takeaway.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that lasting love.
Yeah.
It's not about those fleeting moments of passion.
Right.
It's about the small things,
Yeah.
those consistent,
Yeah.
acts of love and connection that weave together
Yeah.
the very fabric of a life that's shared.
Yeah. The quiet moments, the inside jokes,
Yeah.
the routines that you build together, it's all part of what makes it special, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, this deep dive, I think this deep dive has given us a lot to think about.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us today. And remember, genuine affection.
Yeah.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's a good one.